I've been playing Ziggurat for about a week now, and I can't say I'm not loving it. Though its occasional repetition, as well as its less than compelling story, keep it from escalating to one of my favorite games of this year. Its fun, fast-paced combat, varied enemy types, and interesting weapons to boot make it one of the most interesting games that I have played this year. To start off with, the game looks great. The cool fantasy art style employed here, as well as the sort of gloomy aura that hangs over everything, gives the game a really kind of gloomy look, which is appropriate for the dungeon that you're in, and just makes the game look good as a whole. Not to mention, the enemies in this game are awesome. The designs are so varied that one room you might be facing a horde of small flaming skulls, whereas in the next room you might be fighting a heap of mutant carrots. The designs here can sometimes be frightening, sometimes hilarious, and every time entertaining and varied in the best sort of sense. The weapons look really cool too. You can wield everything from a staff topped with a skull, a spellbook engraved with a fiery signature, or even a gun that shoots exploding bullets, or even a circular grenade. The weapons, as well as having varied uses, are very well designed and they look really cool when you're using them. It is in the presentation, however, that one of the game's downsides comes about. Not many of the rooms look very different, most of them having the same sort of props, the same barrels, the same spikes, etc., and oftentimes it can get a bit monotonous, especially in some of the really long floors where you just pass through room after room after room of the same sort of thing, especially when you have to backtrack to find the way to get out to the next floor. Overall, though, the game presents a very unique and entertaining sort of presentation, and it's one of the high points of this phenomenal game. When you get into the gameplay of this game, however, this is when the game really starts to shine and show itself to be different and a lot better than many of the roguelikes crowding the market at the moment. The combat in this game is incredibly fast-paced. Often, in a single room, you'll be faced with numerous amounts of enemies, possibly even up to 50 of these skull things, and many of these enemies shoot projectiles. Some follow you, some you can shoot down, and some you simply have to deal with. You have to be constantly moving to make sure you avoid these attacks, and have reflexes to deal with whatever threats come at you. And this fast pace is the core, basically, of the entire gameplay. As I stated before, the weapon design in this game is also very varied. While your basic weapon is a wand that fires semi-fast and deals okay damage, there are also 3 other types of weapons you can find. Spells, staffs, and alchemy weapons, which are basically bombs and grenades and that sort of stuff. You can equip one of each type of these weapons, and each of them has their own mana pool bound to it. While your wand mana pool recharges quickly over time, your mana pools for your unique weapons have to be recharged by finding mana crystals, which enemies typically drop. And each kind of weapon also has its own attributes. For example, staves shoot faster and shoot more projectiles, but have less damage. Spells shoot in a sort of shotgun-esque fashion and deal slightly more damage, etc. Running around a room as fast as you can and making use of all your weapons to the best of your ability is what makes this combat really varied and fun. However, it's also where another bit of repetition comes into the game. Many of the weapons feel sort of samey. A lot of spells I found were pretty much the same, except some had certain effects that barely ever triggered. And there was even a staff that I found on this footage here, which pretty much was exactly what the wand does. This, in my opinion, is what lets the game down the most. It kind of drags out the gameplay, leaves it a bit monotonous because you never find much different. However, it's pretty small on the scale of just how fun it is to run around and do this stuff. So it's a bit of a nitpick on my part, and doesn't actually make the game much worse. There's other stuff that I haven't mentioned as well. For example, by doing certain objectives, you can unlock more characters. There are certain challenge rooms put into the game that add certain effects on enemies or give you a certain objective, like scavenging or destroying an obelisk to continue. And these also keep the game from getting too dried up and kind of compensate for the repetition that comes with the enemy design and the repetitious weapon design. Overall, Ziggurat is a pretty awesome title, though its repetitious nature does keep it from escalating to a simply amazing title. It's fun, fast-paced gameplay, its hilarious and varied enemy design, and its awesome art design will keep you coming back for more and keep this game being fresh and fun while still being able to have the permadeath style where you have to keep restarting every time you die. Ziggurat earns an 8 out of 10, simply because I just can't deny that every time I play this game, I'm sucked in and just have so much fun with it. The enemies are hilarious, the gameplay is fun, and it just looks great to boot. This has been the Milkshake Gamer, and hopefully I'll escape the Ziggurat at some point. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye.